Welcome to onSodi.com.
In this series of easy black and white treatments in Photoshop, we will look at three treatments. Some simple conversions to black and white with added image adjustments, adding grain and mood to a black and white image, and then color toning a black and white image. We will also use some of these same files in the early stages of the Layer Masks Local Adjustment Video Lessons course. Each one of these images has been processed in Camera Raw first with sensor dust removed. Black and white can be a lot of fun when you start to add grain and vignettes and adding additional color toning and treatments. Before I open these images into Photoshop, I have firstly optimized them in Adobe Camera Raw. This image, for example, has some clipping in the highlight areas as this is a sunset or a dusk image. I'm going to select all three images down here on the left hand side, and I'm now going to open these images into the Photoshop workspace. I will start with this image with a black and white conversion. I'm going to come up to the Adjustments panel and I'll click on the Black and White Adjustment layer. And this is now applied a default setting. I will pick up the Target Adjustment tool here, and the first area I will come to is the blue sky, and I'll click and drag that to the left, which darkens that blue sky. I want to be careful that I don't go too far and cause any of these strange edges that occur between foreground and background detail. So I'm just going to bring that back a little bit. And I can click on the preview icon here, before and after, to see the effect that's occurring. During my raw processing, I made sure that I had good highlight detail in my clouds. As this image is full color, I can see the thumbnail area over here, and I'm going to come into the foreground and click and drag, and I'm going to lighten up this foreground area. And now the image is having a lot more impact. Additional to the black and white adjustment, I'm going to come up here and add a curves adjustment layer, and I'm going to increase some highlight area and drop some shadow area. So now I'm starting to get a very different looking image. It's quite a straight black and white image. There's lots of high contrast light up here, and there's also some deep dark shadows occurring through here. So this image has now been optimized, and I could go through the process of stamping the layers and sharpening. Make sure you look at our sharpening videos on more information about sharpening. I'm now going to come over to this image here, and again I'm going to add a black and white adjustment layer, pick up the Target Adjustment tool, click in these blue areas, and I'm going to slide those blues to the left. And you can see here I'm starting to get quite a lot of drama. Again, I want to make sure that I'm not creating any edge effects as I make this adjustment. The foreground building down here is a yellow-red sort of tone, and I can lift that up and change the effect of that. And I can also click in this foreground grass and move that around. So I've got quite a nice effect happening here. I'm now going to come and add, in this instance, a curves yet again, and I'm going to lift up my highlights slightly, and I'm going to drop my shadows to create some nice mid-range contrast. As you could see before, the black and white layer was creating an edge effect if I went too heavy with the blue setting. But in this instance, I'm using the curves to make the adjustment. Remember that contrast will always increase and improve most images. So my image is now looking quite good. I'll look at a before. I'm holding down the Option key on the visibility eye here. And there's a before and an after, and I'll now turn off those curves, a before and an after, and you can see that this has got quite a nice dramatic and strong effect as a result of this cloudscape. I'll now come over to this image which has been shot after sunset, and it was with a long exposure. Again, I'm going to add a black and white adjustment, and this time I'm still going to pick up the Target Adjustment tool, I'm going to click in this foreground area here with these yellows and move this up and down. If I also play around with the reds here, which is reflecting the highlight, you can see I can really start to change the effect of this image. And you will see the lights will become brighter. Even playing with the magenta slider makes a change. I want to be careful though that I don't overdo this because those lights will start to look a little bit strange. By moving the blue slider, you can see it starts to change the sky area. Moving the cyan slider will also affect that sky area. I'm going to add, instead of using a curves to adjust the mid-range contrast, I'm going to use the levels as I displayed in the Craig Special Recipe videos to add some mid-range contrast. So I'm going to change the blend mode of this over to overlay. And this is very aggressive. So I'll reduce the opacity to 50% and using the output sliders, remembering this is the only time that we really use the output sliders, and I'm going to just reduce that back, and clicking this on and off gives us a nice set of mid-range tones. I will show you how to sharpen this once again. Command-Option-Shift-E to stamp the layer stack. I convert this across to a smart object. Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask, and I'm just going to put a standard amount of 150% with a radius of 1, and I'll click OK. And we really should blend this to luminosity mode with color images, but because this is a grayscale image, we don't have to be concerned about color artifacts, but it is a good habit to get into. So I'm going to convert that across to luminosity mode. So that's our 3 images. Make sure you watch our next video lesson where I'm going to show you how to add some grain and some mood to the black and white images.